Welcome to the show of darkness. Yes, the Skeksis have taken over this episode thanks to the power of the underscore. Am I muted? I don't think I'm muted. What's it really like to be muted? Hello, everyone. Wow, that's a weird camera angle, but you're gonna have to deal with it. Let me see. Is this a slur one? No, this should be good. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Friday. Working on some camera angle stuff here, and I ain't mute. Good. If you're expecting a full show, I don't have any content for you today except for just me and Witness and some feedback on some feedback. And I almost didn't do a show today. Yesterday I've been busy running errands, lots of errands that never got done. Most of those were book orders. Just over the last 3 or 4 days, during the holidays, I wasn't around to mail the books. And so I've done that. So thank you for those who ordered a book and ordered a ticket. I think we've officially sold. Let me do a quick check here. Doing a check, yeah. Gonna do a check, yeah. We're gonna figure out how many people have bought something, yeah. Only look at that. We have 99 tickets. 99.55 tickets coming for Rhode Island. When you buy a ticket, then it won't be 99 tickets sold anymore. And 10 of those are miracles, which is pretty awesome. We had our first nomination today for a miracle ticket. A beautiful nomination. I'm not going to mention it now. I'll bring it up in Airship later. But so there are 10 miracles floating around the airship flotilla, which is us. Yes, I when I say us, oh no, he's going to put us in a category. Oh geez, he's going to say tribe. He's going to say cult. He's going to Union of the Snake from Duran Duran is like playing right now. And I can't play it because I'd get a copyright strike. But the Union of the Snake is on the prowl. Wow, right? And he's watching all the lucky clovers. And it is most important. This should give you all you need for what you think you're going to get if you watch today's episode. Do you understand? It's your fault. It's you did this to yourself. You've been warned, all that stuff. And yeah. So I wanted to go over just a few little ditties that I thought were important. Am I too close to the camera? Is this too close for you guys? Or you're like, why are you getting so close, dude? You're kind of freaking me out, James. Why are you doing that? Why are you getting so close, dude? It's kind of like, I don't understand, man. Can't you just go on with the show and just talk about other stuff? Why you gotta be so in your face, huh? Why you gotta be so in your face, right? Anyway, hope you enjoyed the show yesterday. I hope you had a chance to see it. If you didn't, you might have had a chance to see some of the interviews that we've had with Chad, dare I say friend, I don't know, who knows? He could have a realization tomorrow. We've seen this pattern before, right? But there's something really interesting happening with his audience that I really just want to talk about today. When it comes to Chad, I'm looking forward to talking to him more. I really appreciate his open mind. It looks like we're going to do a live stream Tuesday, and I'm really excited about that. I hope you will join us in that endeavor. Speaking of live streams, I'm going to be live on. Oh man, are you serious? Do I have to talk about how to derail me? Someone's told me that apparently I have. Yeah. Anyway, sorry if that's the case. Really sorry. Man, that's terrible. Oh man, now I got to rebuild my confidence. I'm gonna drink some coffee. That'll fix it. It didn't help. It's still there. Maybe if I threw Adrian out, that'll make... No, I've tried that before. That doesn't work either. How am I supposed to regain my confidence? I can trim his mustache with my teeth. Yeah, there we go. I'll be there. We'll just wait. We'll wait. I will never do a close up again. How about that? Or should I go back even further? Is this better now? Is this better? This is probably better. Okay, she's saying there is no, but man, you got me. Way to go. Way to go. Now you can rewind and see if you can find it. Oh God, that'll be fun. What was I even talking about? Talk about derail, man. Yeah. So some of the audiential reactions. Did I just say audiential? Yes, I did. I just said audiential. There's a new word. Is audiential. Some of the audiential reactions. I think some of you have been around enough to where you've seen some of those, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I've seen that before." But some of you are new and you haven't seen that yet. And first of all, I want to say that by far, most of the reactions from the interview with Open Your Reality with Chad have been positive, like well more than a majority. And if you're new to my work, you might actually misinterpret what I'm about to say as a disappointment, because I'm going to speak of a few of the what you might call negative ones, right? And I want you to, if you can hold on long enough, consider that I am called the dark worker around these parts. I am considered the dude that apparently, remember, I'm a Luciferian. I'm a compassionist. People call me a relativist, even though it's a fractal. Why the fuck he's using the word relative? It's invading me. And one of the reactions, one of many, was that I'm a Confederate loyalist, which would have been one thing if the person would have said that, but instead they say, "I'm glad that you've renounced your Confederate loyalist content on your website." That was the reaction that I want to share with you right now. And that reaction is beautiful because of how authentic it shows you how and where people are with my work. The person that made that comment, I can't think of his name. If someone wants to in the chat, you could pull that interview up. But this is, please, I hope you understand that I'm amplifying his voice because I want you to see what I mean when I talk about my work. Not even my work. It's more about the ripples from my work. Because those ripples are really tell you everything about the timbre of what I have to say. Now, for someone to say, "I'm really glad that you renounced your Confederate loyalist content on your site," is he's basically saying, "I used to think that you were racist because of the way you talked about white slavery and the Confederacy." That's what he's saying. And he's using the word "used to." This is why I don't think this is even a negative comment. Now, it is a negative comment on the Confederacy. Poor guys. We'll get to that. But really what this guy is showing you is that he's experienced and gone through a period of growth where he is more comfortable accepting my ideas now. The idea that the Confederacy isn't actually a bad model. The idea that a Confederacy actually doesn't really mean racism, nor has racism ever meant the Confederacy. In fact, you would argue quite the opposite. Right? Now, to get there, you are only going to be able to find that comfortable or not. Do you guys remember Alex from Skeptico? There's a channel called Skeptico. And Alex was so into my work that he became a patron. And he was following and supporting the content quietly. And the whole time he was running his own show. And he never once mentioned to me that he had a show that was 10, 20 times larger in audience than mine. He simply found the content interesting. And he found it so interesting enough that he wanted to bring it onto his show. And so he contacted me and he said, "Hey, James, I find your thoughts interesting. Would you like to come on my show?" And of course, I do what I say to literally everyone. I am honored that someone would consider my work. I truly am. And I'd love to do a show. And so I do a show. And we show up for the show and we do an hour and a half interview. And Alex, for the first time out of all the interviews he's ever done, actually cut our interview trimmed it down to about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Some of you know this, remember this. If someone wants to put a link into that Skeptico episode, that would be appropriate if you were to put that in the chat. I don't mind you seeing it, but it really bothers me because so many of my words were taken out. They were removed. And I do appreciate that Alex at least had the gumption to, in the beginning of the interview, to say that some of the ideas that James have expressed here are so painfully uncomfortable that I had to leave them out of the interview. And I don't remember his exact phrasing, but his phrasing was something to that. It was something to that effect. And you watched his system, like his entire system, feel the stress and the pain of what I was saying. And what was I saying? If I could encapsulate it quickly, it would be to explain that humanity has a fetish for slavery and victimhood, and that because we have this fetish, we pretend to hate and admonish slavery when in fact the entire time it's been the very thing that's given our consciousness the stakes for our plant to grow, that it's allowed us to reach higher. And that through the pinnacle of slavery, through the gateway of slavery, we have arrived at a conscious self, and just many of us aren't there. So many of us aren't there that they actually feel shame because they're still using slavery. And why do they feel shame? Because they see people like you and me. And I'm not trying to admonish you and me from slavery. I'm trying to tell you that you and I use slavery as a torch, as a tool, as a stilt, as a ladder, as a way of holding a posture that was difficult to us to hold until we were finally ready to have sovereignty. And that this, at the heart of this fetish for slavery, comes our fetish for insisting that none of us lie, that government is good, that government would never lie, I should say, that all of us in normal society is built on truth, that there's nothing nefarious in society itself. And you see that why the surface tension, the film that stops you from penetrating out of the conspiracy theory, right? That's the downward pressure of the egregoric psychic shame that keeps you safe inside that ignorance. The realm, the film of that is conspiracy theory, right? That's the very first time that the seed emerges from the soil. It is called a conspiracy theorist. That's what it would feel like, and it does. Think about it. The first time you were called a conspiracy theorist, you thought that was burning. It was bright. You were like, oh, that burns. Oh, I'm talking about the first time. You don't need to put in the text how awesome you are. I know how awesome you are. You're watching what the level of content that we have is disturbing. The fact that you're even subscribed already shows that, right? But take it, let's all allow ourselves to go back to that level when we first emerged from the soil and enjoy it. And I want you to remember it burned when you were called a conspiracy theorist. Some of you went through every single hermetic step. You went from the socialist as a teenager. You went from, when you were a child, you were a communist. And it was the only way you could survive, right? When you were a teenager, when you were a tweenager, you were a socialist. It was the only way you could survive. When you became a young adult, you were liberal. When you gave birth to a family, you developed conservatism. You became a conservative. And as you became successful, you emerged from that conservation into something else. And that really was conspiracy theorist. You might have stopped at the realm of libertarian. You might have checked in at that gate. You might have checked in at the idea that and you reached the level of conspiracy theorists, and you decided there is a deep state, that the entire state is good, but there's just one portion of it that's bad. And if we can get that, oh, baby, if we can get that one little piece, everything will be fine again. We will return. And those of you who penetrated the deep state, you saw the entirety of Predator. You saw the aluminum metallic Predator wandering the streets, and it was shaped like an ambulance. It was shaped like a military. It always came in a uniform, and you started to see that. And when you told everyone else that everyone in a uniform is actually entering into this social contract with Predator, and that morally they are allowed to do whatever they want to do to you inside a uniform, when you were first told that, it burned like a bitch, the same way it burned when you first rose up out of that soil. It burned the same. This is what growth feels like. You emerge from the ground, communist, socialist, liberal, conservative, conspiracy theorist. Some of you branched out into different areas. And when you get this tall, you turn into a Queen Anne's lace and you spread your canopy out and you start looking at everything flat earth. Orphan trains, Tartaria, Mandela effect, reptilian space popes, secret space program, NASA lies. And you form this canopy to protect yourself from source because you believe that you had your own source and you called that source the truth. And I'm not here to say you're wrong. You built that truth because you needed the canopy to shade yourself from the true burning, burning, burning sensation that is raw. Raw. Think about the word raw. That literally means raw coaxial input. Right? As strong as a fairy pea lemon just bursting in your mouth. That sting is truth. Source is such a powerful truth. You secrete melanin. You open an umbrella to protect yourself from it. And that umbrella is the psyche that you choose, your cosmology that you choose. And I've insisted to you to embrace your cosmology, not as something that is true, but as something that helps you find torque. That this place is built on belief, and the canopy that suspends yourself above you is your belief. And you can be convex earth, you can be hollow earth, you can be concave earth, you can be ball earth, you can be flat earth. You could be homunculus earth. If you haven't seen my new cosmology I introduced yesterday, that man is a living reef, would like for you to consider it. Do I want you to join a fucking club called Homunculus Earth? No. Do I want you to buy an app that shows you the liver and moon clock as it moves around your homunculus Earth? No. No. And this brings me to one of the problems, one of the very questions that Chad asked me, which came from the field, which was, why is James not answering questions? And I want to tell you why I can't answer your questions. I want to tell you why there are people that cannot and are not ready to hear what we have to say. I do not mean to make you guilty when I say we. I just need you to know that James True would have not had enough ego, psyche, plasma to pull this off without the tribe of patrons. I would not have happened. Your belief in me I've used as a building material to strengthen what we do. And what we do is we do not have answers. We have exercises. I am peddling sophistry. And I am here to clean that word sophistry. I am here to tell you the entire time that when you look up the definition of sophist, it is a beautiful thing. It is a busker. What is a busker? Someone who believes the streets should have free music. That's what a busker believes. And when you see a busker playing on the side of the street, he's not telling you this is the ultimate song. He's telling you that you right now, when you're on this street, you deserve to hear my tune. You deserve to hear the notes. And you can decide if you like those notes. You can decide if you hate those notes. You can heckle me. You can put tips in my case. I've given you every option. I'm exposed to you on the street because I am not afraid. That is busking and that is sophistry at the same time. Turn in your Webster's Bibles to page 1172 of the unabridged version. Scroll down to the second column and towards the 3/4 down to the bottom, you will find the word sophistry. And you will read that definition in a quiet room. And you will say, so a freelance wisdom peddler is a sophist. Someone who organically wants to insert wisdom on the street as if it's a flower is here. And that's what I am. And that I am very, very different from the truth movement Because the truth movement is peddling what? Answers. They are peddling answers. What are those answers? 117 years ago, a mud flood came in and took apart all these things, and this was destroyed, and here's a picture. 2,000 years ago, a massive flood and Cabbage Patch Kids were fallen from the sky, and it sprouted forth, and there came man. There are orphan trains that have free Wi-Fi access, and those orphan trains were sent across the ocean underneath a tube that floated in the water that Elon Musk discovered, and now he's going to sell it to us again. These are truths. They're truths. Epstein Island is going to expose everything, and we're going to find the deep state, and it's going to be a sacred moment because everything will be revealed. You hear the religion? I am here to peddle cosmology. Holy shit. Thank you so much, Eric C. Thank you so much, Sark. You guys are great. I feel the hearts. I feel it. I feel it. Thank you. It's scripture. And you have been here enough, you already know it's scripture. That's why you dig me. You're like, James, I frickin' dig you, because you know it's scripture. And you've heard me over and over and over and over and over again. The moment someone tries to turn what I'm saying into scripture, you've hopefully heard me try and shoot that down. I do not want you to catch mystery and rape it behind the bushes. I don't want you to conquer mystery with your sacred fucking arrow of truth. I don't want that world. There are millions of skulls piled on the prairie from people like you, not talking to you, I'm talking to you, who have gone out there and said, I'm gonna fucking kill this with my truth arrow. Ugh. And you shoot the arrow in the head, you say, haha, it's a particle. There is objective reality, and it's a particle, and all things are known by me, looking through the cipher of this ball lens. And I'm the only dude, I swear, correct if I'm wrong, please do. Okay, maybe there's others, but I'm the only one, at least in this modern sophistry, I'm the only one busking on the street right now that's telling you, dude, stop looking for a specific lens. Can you please just learn that the aperture changes reality, that liquid reality changes. It drips a different flavor and color simply by turning the lens. That's all it takes. And when you do this, you see a fractal reality that's based on the ability of a person to absorb and render what's there. But James, this idea that the entire universe is actually the inside of our body and we are here, why would we see the sky, James? Why would we see the ground? And the answer is because you would have to have some sort of orientation. What if I was to tell you that the Elohim, and I wish you would have all read my book by now, but that's okay, I'll forgive you, but it's called Ark of Baphomet, and I even spoke into a mic for 4 hours and 7 minutes, so you didn't have to look at the words on the page. But I told you about how the Elohim carves the zodiac into the very first cell, that the, thank you, Dale, that the mitosis is actually, before mitosis occurs, there is this thing called cleavage, and that the cell, the Elohim, splits itself into a chimeric 8. It chops in half, it chops in half, and it chops in half. And you end up with a zodiacal structure built around you. And that zodiacal structure is something that first carves the zodiac into your very first cell, your zygote's mind. The very first thing it records is the zodiac. Isn't that amazing? And that zodiac is just the edges of the bubble that have been created when that cleavage occurred. So from the moment you're born, the very first thing you see is zodiac. Now let's relate this to sky. You need a horizon. Just like any compass does, just like any gyroscope has its own center of gravity. Inside what? A center of gravity. That's inside what? A center of gravity. That a gyroscope is 3 axes, right? And each of them is allowed to be independent. Each of them is allowed to create its own torque, its own spin. And when it creates its own spin, that creates its center of gravity. And that you have rendered this gyroscope, this internal gyroscope, you've rendered in the outside world because your HUD, Another fancy word, sorry, but your HUD, your heads-up display, bling, shows you an earth and sky, which gives you your inner ear equilibria. It's telling you the entire time, this is where I am, and it renders it to you in a graphical way that you can see, and it has a clock built in. Imagine how fucking boring this world would be as if you looked up in the sky and it was always gray, but there flashed 11:17. And every time it turns 11:11, all these people start fucking because they think it's like divine intervention, right? Imagine, okay, that part maybe that would be boring after a while. You'd start to notice at 11:10, oh God, we're going to have to stop the meeting. Why? Because in a minute, everyone's going to be just like, ugh, this is so gross. And then boom, oh my God, it's a miracle. We should totally have sex. No, we don't have it. Instead, we have sunsets. Instead, we have sunrises. We have prom night. We have you're hanging out on your elementary school, drinking wine. Right? You're swinging in the swing at dawn. That's when you have sex. And why is that? Because the same thing. You've got your zodiac that's rendered, but it's rendered itself with a plasma clock that's showing you the colors of your space. You're inside your body, but you see the sky and the earth because you need to understand where the fuck you are. Your orientation determines your chemical ability to feel things, right? It's true. It's true. So how do you even start to think about the world as if you're inside your own body? And more importantly, why? I find cosmologies that give my belief the most torque. That's where I choose. I've given up the ghost of, oh, I'm going to find objective reality, and then I'm going to be able to tell everyone else how wrong they are. I get so bored with that. I do not like the interviews where someone's like, oh, well, you sound like this, or oh, you sound like that. When Chad said, Eric Dubay said that, all I could do is just go like, I froze because I started to picture my reality where I would have to, like, every thought that I've come up with, I would have to first research and make sure that I give someone else credit for that organic thought that came to me. And do I know where my thoughts come from? I don't think they come from me. It's part of the reason why I adopted my antenna cosmology. What is that? The antenna cosmology is the flow state of my antenna determines the thoughts that are generated to me. And those thoughts are really much more profound than we think. You and I might call them reason, but those are emotions. Have you ever considered that reason is an emotion? I'm on the street busking sophistry. I'm telling you something you've never heard. That reason this whole time has been an emotion, that you have an emotion called reason. But we live in a world where we're like, no, there's emotion and then there's reason. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you adapt this cosmology, the reason why I know it works is because it torques my belief. Why? Because I'm no longer walking around going, I have objective reality. I'm going to kick your ass in the Thunderdome if you try and tell me different. I'm willing to have conversation. And all of us are. It's beautiful. We've come a long way. We're no longer burning witches for this. Right? We're no longer burning witches. We found something different. But if you are not ready for that, you are going to be looking for regurgitated answers. You're going to be saying, look, can you just tell me what the truth is? Because if you can tell me what the truth is, then I can say whether or not you're full of shit. And that's a percentage, a small percentage of those comments that I was mentioning that you see are that. And they render their world the same way I render mine. They render their world which says, well, he's not giving me an answer to call bullshit or not. He's telling me that I need to be flexible in my cosmology. What a fucking shitty thing to say. And so you end up rendering the world as he's not giving answers. This guy's not answering the question. And I appreciate that because it shows you the truth of what I mean. Nothing proves more what I'm saying than comments like that, because they're expressing to you that this truly is a neurological comfort movement, that we have to find the neurology to literally sit and steep ourselves, not under the umbrella, but under a different kind of canopy. And what is the corona but the opening of that aperture? I've said this before. And I'll say it again. But if you really want to understand what the Mandela effect is, I think you need to understand how resolution changes. You know, when I was a kid, we had 216 colors on a computer screen. Oh my God, you're old. I know, I'm old as fuck. 200,000 years old, bitches. Why do you think I know so much? But when my current avatar was 12, there were 216 colors, 256 colors. That was it. It was all you got. There were no more. And I did my best to render the world as clear as I could through 256 colors. And now we're living in a world where it's 2.16 million colors, right? It's let's see. I'll tell you because I can't even remember. 256 times 256 times 256 is 1.6777. That's how many colors we have now. Most of us have a resolution thanks to our advances in consciousness, not technology. They're the same, but I just think about it this way. Thanks to our advances in consciousness, we can render 1.67 million colors inside of our psychic egregore. That's what the internet is. Stop calling it an internet. Start calling it something more internal to you. You are connected to the gnosis of the neural net. Remember how Coral, if you watched yesterday, Coral, I'm not talking about Coral. Hey, Coral, we gotta go kill some zombies. No, I'm talking about Coral. That a coral's brain is its neural net. And I'm here to tell you that the internet is your neural net, that your reef is connected to the rest of the world through this neural net. And it's you. Stop calling it them. Stop calling it theirs. Stop calling it technology. Call it you. Your compassion is so deep that it can travel thousands of miles away, underwater. All of your signals that go across the world travel underwater. You and I can only imagine that that would happen if we had some sort of large plug. Yeah, there's a large underwater cord. And that's how all our stuff is connected. And it's a fiber optic cord, James, and it's very expensive. And we have terrorism, and we have to watch out because someone might cut that cord. That this is the closest our consciousness can absorb it, the same way back when it was 216 colors. Those 216 colors were all green. Yeah, did you hear me? The 256 colors, sorry, I keep calling it 216. The 256 colors that we used to have when I was a kid were all green. Every one of them was green. It was a shade of green. And that's how most of your eye works. Most of your eye is just determining shade. What is most color in the world? It's the shape, right? Watch yesterday's stream, you know that. It's the shape of something that determines these things. So what I want you to get is that some people are not going to get what we talk about. And they're not going to be able to get what we talk about until their polyvagus is ready. It's in a puberty. It's in a prepubescent state. And it doesn't need to fruition. There's not a flower in this garden that we should hold at gunpoint to say, you better bloom, motherfucker. You better bloom, bitch. Bloom, bitch. Get out of the way. We don't have to do that. There was a time when we felt that way. When I was rising up into my consciousness, I had that idea that there was objective reality and everyone else is wrong. And even worse, the people that were wrong were secret Luciferian elite pedophiles. And they were controlling the whole thing. And the only reason why I couldn't see it is because they were dastardly enough to fool me. I used to believe that shit. And it really hit home when I was thinking about the check engine light. There was a time when I drove a Volkswagen Jetta. Long time ago. And I remember at night driving how loud and bright that check engine light was. And I didn't have the money. I didn't have the calories. This is why I say calories instead of energy. I'm not trying to confuse you if you're new. I say calories because if I call it energy, one of you fucks is going to, not even you fucks, but one of those fucks out there is going to tell you about a free energy device. And you're going to start thinking in energy as if it's like free. And it's not. It's a calorie. That's why I'm not trying to be fancy. I'm not trying to impress you. I say calorie because I need you sophistically, there's another word, sophistically, I need you to stretch enough to see past that, just to encapsulate, look around, right? Just to see around. The check engine light was out to get me in that Volkswagen Jetta. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the resources to deal with this. All I knew is that check engine light meant you were not going to be allowed to travel, and travel was so important to me. It still is. So important to me. And that check engine light was a burning light in the dawn, because I'd see it most at night. Love to drive at night. I used to drive across the plains of Kentucky and Tennessee and just enjoy the stars. One of my favorite things out of the sunroof of that Jetta. And that check engine light was a Lucifer. It was an evil, satanic light that was shining, reminding me that I did not deserve to fly. That my ability to travel was being impeded by this evil light called check engine light. And that was my Lucifer at the time. And I blamed all my world's problems on that. I said the source behind that light wants to kill me. It wants to enslave me. It wants to hold me down. And I had that exact same outlook that so many truthers have right now, which is why we call it a comfort movement, which is they haven't been able to reserve enough ego to look into what the check engine light has to say. And so they wear their white belt of ignorance, and it protects them from the danger of what that light has to say. This is Lucifer in the car. And as you grow more comfortable, as you have more calories, as you learn to associate with your car more, right? I was in my 20s when I saw that Lucifer light. And now I appreciate that light. Now I see that light, and I have a Bluetooth app that's hooked to my phone, and I've crawled underneath it, and for $7 on Amazon, I have this little part that plugs into it, and it gives me the Bluetooth data right on my iPhone, so I don't have to go find a Napa. It tells me right there, sensor valve P1 is failing. Sensor valve P1 is failing. And I go look at that. Yeah, this is going to adjust your knock rate on your engine if you don't have the sensor. But if you have the sensor in there, it's going to actually elicit some sort of change in your fuel injection mixture that will adapt and remove the ping. That disgusting sound that you hear in the engine right now as you drive Lucifer across the prairie can actually be fixed. And it can be fixed with a new P1 sensor valve. And even knowing that was expensive for me. Even knowing that. And when you have enough calories, you actually will look on Amazon for a P1 sensor valve, and you will say, well, shit, that's just a bolt. And you'll buy that bolt, you'll order it, and it'll come to you. And now it's in your mailbox. And you'll climb under the car, and you will go to put that new P1 sensor in, but you can't get it because the axle's in the way. And you're like, fuck, why is this happening? And if you have a certain calories, if you're at a certain threshold, you will say, this is because of Lucifer. It's Lucifer that did that. It is the evil outerness of the world telling me I don't deserve to drive, and so it's doing this. So even though it's a simple fix, I can't fix it because of Lucifer. And this gives us a canopy, a shelter from that storm. And we go through our lives knowing that Lucifer is always lurking around the corner. And we end up using him as a source of strength. We do. That if we can walk into a place and have someone run into us with their beer and it spills all over our shirt, that now we can say, oh, it's fucking Lucifer. We can build community on that idea. And when you have that idea, you're going to listen to someone like James True, and you're going to say, this guy doesn't answer questions. He doesn't answer questions. And why? It's because when I said all of this is about your calories, it destroys the canopy. That crouching is a kind of canopy that you give your heart. You slunch over, like, freaking Lucifer made my head bald. And now when I'm bald, I can't show this part of my head to the camera because Lucifer made me bald. And if this world wasn't full of Lucifers, I'd have the prettiest hair. And it'd flow like my eyebrows do. I'd sit there and let my eyebrows and my hair billow in the wind. But Lucifer came and took that away from me, right? And you will build your entire platform over. Lucifer put a booger in my nose before the live stream today. It was Lucifer who did that. Right? So the answers, it's not that the answers aren't being given, it's that the answers cannot be heard. And I've had to learn this the hard way. The really hard way. I've been very stubborn about this. But more importantly, those answers are not meant to be shared. I'm not supposed to get everyone on board with Lucifer. I'm not supposed to convince everyone that their check engine light maybe is trying to help them. That the entire time that light in the dawn was telling you there is hope. The check engine light was literally saying, "Hello, Mr. Driver. We've reached through the circuitry and resonated with this car to let you know that there is hope. And that hope is found in a new P1 sensor. And I know right now you may lack the calories to figure out how to drop the axle, the 3 inches required to put in the new P1 sensor, but it can be done because you are the chosen one. And I will give you this ring, this precious P1 sensor. And I will tell you, you can go. Follow the torch, follow the Luciferic notions. And trust in yourself. And meanwhile, you've got this whole matrix of other people out there saying, yeah, and you reached too high, and you flew too high, and you tried too high, and you paid for it like a Lucifer, like an Icarus, like a Lucifer, Satan falling. You're evil. My dad's Lucifer. And he's the source of all these issues. And all these things that are happening bad is because of Lucifer. And you end up in that hyena masturbation pit. And you see it it's everywhere. And it's so gross that if you try and tell them, you guys are a bunch of hyenas masturbating, they get mad. They don't grow. They get mad. You're ruining their good time. You will never, ever, ever going to find an audience the higher you go in the ladder. I think it's the opposite. I do. One of the things that I like about Ike is that he's talking about the reptilians. And I believe the truth is in the room. And I know that reptilian spirit is our egoic, it's our reptilian serotonin. Do you realize that of course, the serotonin, all of that's made in the intestines, but it's also the only source of serotonin is your pons, is your reptile inner brain. And there are people in the comments with my discussions with Chad that are saying, and this guy's pro-reptile, I can't believe this stuff. And I'm telling you that your intuition is the reptilian. And that we are seeing a large, giant psychic force, an egregore called the reptilians, that literally is trying as hard as it can to gain place in this body. And it's doing that because so many of us have decided to disassociate from our intuition, which gives that reptilian life, which is why the reptilian space pope is a real thing, which is why it's actually part of the awakening process. In 200, I don't have my iPhone, 217 years? In 217 years, that reptilian will emerge on the stage as the reptilian space pope. And everyone that's rejected their inner pons, the center of their brain, the polyvagal will begin to worship that reptilian space pope, because that reptilian space pope will be able to do something that they never could do before, which is control the flow of their polyvagus. And this will be a sphincter technology, a church built on the technology of a sphincter, I shit you not. Because people will learn finally to relax by utilizing the prayers of the reptilian space pope. And the entire time they will be talking to their inner brain, but they will be insisting and they will destroy anyone who dares to question that, which is why it needs to be so many million light years away. This alien phenomenon is real, and you have to understand what is real means. That's what I'm busking on the street. Is what does is real actually mean, right? Is Ra El, right? Ra, the raw source, the coaxial cable in the sky, right? Reptilian brain overrides common sense. The reptilian brain is sense. Common sense, if you think about it, means human sense. It means what the social hive tells me is sense. The reptilian gives you inner sense. In a sense, inner sense. In a sense, inner sense. We are learning to invoke the snake. Why do you think the giant Hydra blockchain, we're literally building that? People are like, James is always talking about mythology. Why is he always doing that? And like, guys, if you look on your floor, you're going to see a cord. You're going to see a snake, a serpent. And that serpent is going to be bringing you venom. And that venom is going to be called the internet. And that venom is what? It's medicine. Look at the caduceus. Stop pretending the truth is not in the room, because it's in the room. We just put doilies on it and insist it's not what we think it is. The truth is in the room. The Hydra is here. And most of us aren't ready to see that, because the Hydra's going to freak us out, right? We're going to be like, holy fuck, there's a Hydra. Oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And the answer to them is going to be, we need to go inside and find the internet, which is to invigorate the Hydra more. What is the internet but all things known, stored in some sort of way? And that storage of all things known in some sort of way is the blockchain. And that blockchain is literally every single scale of that blockchain is verified by some sort of proof. Proof of stake, proof of life, proof of effort, proof of intent, proof of truth. All of these proofs ofs are how the Hydra has scales. And those scales give the Gnosis protection, because the Hydra can never doubt itself. The blockchain can never doubt itself, because all of its verification is transparent. It is an electric, invisible Hydra, and it's living all around us. And mythology's told you about this Hydra. It's told you that this Pythos, this giant python, will get so large that the sun itself will have to defeat it, Apollo. And what does that mean? That's the EMP, that is the reset, right? The only way you could kill a Hydra that's made out of blockchain is with an EMP. Some sort of Apollo, some sort of pulse. No different than running a powerful electromagnet over a hard drive. No different than shining an EMP into a factory and just obliterating every single piece of software that's ever been written ever. And you can't rebuild that the next day, because all the people that wrote Fortran are dead. All the people that wrote the machine language that's underneath the machine language, that's underneath the machine language, that's underneath the scripting language, that's underneath the compiled scripted language, that's underneath the Objective-C programming, which we've turned everything into, would have to be rebuilt. And those people are dead. And you'd get up and say, oh, the Hydra's been cut. I'll just go to GitHub and download this, and you'll hit compile and it won't fucking work. And you wrote that whole program. You wrote the whole thing, but it won't compile. And you're like, well, we'll run our own compiler, but you can't. You can't pull that Terry Davis shit. You can't. You're not going to be able to see things beyond 256 colors. You're limited. So we start to understand the homunculus earth is you tapping into your nervous system. The nervous system is the internet. Inside your body, a white blood cell can call the gnosis of the body. Guys, what should I do? Should I rebuild this hole here? It looks like there's a fracture in the bone. Is this the right answer? And the architecture of the shape is telling you the answer. The white blood cell, through its own intuition, is finding what the answer is. And it says, oh, I'm going to go here. I'm going to give this some stem cells. I'm going to secrete these stem cells right here because I want to build some new fibrous bone tissue, right? I'm going to rebuild that because here's a fracture and we can fix this. It's not even broken. There's just an opportunity for me to create spongy bone. That's how your body sees it. Your body doesn't walk around going, oh, I'm broken. It tried that, but it realized that wasn't getting it anywhere. Because what the liver says works is the opposite of what the pancreas. The pancreas would insist that that is broken if you turn me into a liver. And it has no choice but to think that way, because that's how complex this world is. So what is inflammation? Read through some of those comments. That is inflammation. Our resistance to the sophistry on the street is our inflammation to new ideas. And we will build these safe platforms. We'll call them flat earth. And we'll stand them up and we'll say, see, this is real, so it's okay. Because we're clinging to this idea of objectivity. We're clinging to this idea that we can fucking know. And we will write in the comments, this guy doesn't answer questions because he's telling me that the truth of all things is really based on my comfort. And that's a perfect answer. That's a goddamn perfect answer. In fact, most of the people that say, James, you answer questions so thoroughly, kind of disproves that whole idea that I don't answer questions. It kind of proves the whole idea that my questions are not actually answers or questions. They're more about emotional poses. Most of what I do is try as best I can to put you into an emotional pose, because I know, just like bone, if I create a space between, that your spongy bone will fill in through the resonance of that shape. What is that shape? It's your posture, right? And if you stand up straighter when it comes to the idea of a deep state, you won't be such a cuck bitch anymore. Because you're no longer clinging to the idea that the state can be cleansed, that we can fix this thing. And I'll tell you, I don't think the state's broken. And I'm telling you about the eugenics program, aren't I? I'm telling you about all that stuff. I'm telling you that when you buy that cupcake at the bake sale and it goes to the Humane Society, you are using white belt because you do not want to know that Humane Society is going to use that dollar that you bought that cupcake with and euthanize cats with it. And that's exactly how the government works. And what's going to save you? Fucking check engine light. Damn it, James, you're so dark. But what's going to make you feel better? The check engine light. Do you realize that when the check engine light comes on, that is my horse. The Jetta is telling me, I believe in you. I believe you can drop the axle 3 inches and put in this new P1 sensor. I believe in you. But we're taught to discredit all of these changes. These are opportunities. Imagine if the Seagulls convinced themselves that if anyone drops a hot dog on the boardwalk, it's Armageddon and all of us need to go in and repent and cut the end of our dicks off. That's what humanity does with opportunity. It sees a free hot dog that's dropped on the sidewalk, and it has convinced itself that that is the source of its evil. And the people that are doing that are not ready to fly with the eagles yet. They're not. And it's okay. And do you know what they're going to call the eagles? You know what seagulls call eagles? Elite Luciferian pedophiles. Sorry. Elite Luciferian pedophiles. That's what seagulls call eagles. And seagulls. They're so close to eagles. It's ridiculous. You would think that the seagull, if anything had respect for an eagle, it would be the seagull, and they don't. Because the seagulls insist that the elite eagle Luciferian pedophiles are the ones that are torturing us, and they're doing it by dropping hot dogs on the fucking sidewalk. That's your check engine light. It's so dark. Exactly, P. It's so dark. It's so dark. Lucifer doesn't save anyone. Good point. If I said saves, I misphrased that. He is the light who shows you the path and what you can do if you rise up. There you go. He's showing you there's a new dawn. And that's why you call him a fucking dick. You're like, you rooster cock. Why are you telling me I have a P1 sensor is coming in the mail, right? Mine. That's what an ego does when it's growing, and I think that's beautiful. I love that there are seagulls out there saying mine, because they're slowly generating the. I bet Adrian's been looking at this too. They've been slowly generating the calories it takes to grow an ego, right? Ego is congealed, like belief has been petrified. The ego forms a shape, and finally it is immune to certain kinds of doubts. It's immune to people saying, hey man, did you know you're bald? And you're just like, oh my God, holy fuck, what happened? I had no idea. And no one told me. Oh my God, what do I do? And you work on that. You develop the plasma it takes to rise above. Or you don't. Orchestra, exactly. Your body's an orchestra. All right. Maybe that's all I got to say. There's some other comments there, but I hope I've just kind of conveyed that idea. Plus, I'm getting paranoid about the way I look right now. Because my ego, see, there's a certain amount of ego that I have for the show and a certain amount that I don't. It phases over time. Also, I do want to figure out a different angle for when it's wintertime. I really love my summer setup on the porch. It's really, really freaking cool, but it's just too cold to open the window like that and do it. I guess that's it. Oh, Sunday I'm doing a live stream with Eon Byte with Miguel. And I'm really excited about that. That's going to be Sunday. I think it's at 8 p.m. I really encourage you guys to check that out. Really, really excited about that. Again, on Tuesday next week, Chad and I are doing another live stream. I really want to encourage you to share the last episode, The Reefs of Man. If you think it's worthy of sharing, that'd be great. And if you want to leave a comment on that, that always helps. That always helps too. So, James, if you take my hair, I'll take your little hair and be tickled like a feather up my ass. Okay. Boogers. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything else. Or become the hair club president. Yes, I could be the hair club president as the dude that's like, oh yeah, you don't have hair. That's what happens around this world. That's what happens. We actually spoke about that in Airship, about the cocooning. Maybe that wasn't Airship. I think that was just Jen. But we go through these cocoons where we, not just Jen, happy birthday Jen, but we go through these cocoons and they really help. The loss of my hair really helped me define myself. So did my face. I had my face pulled off my skull to do some Western medicine, which probably wasn't necessary, by the way, but hey, you live and learn. And for 2 years, I had no control over half my face. And so instantly when I was talking to people, I noticed how much they were no longer digging me as much as they used to dig me. And they couldn't help it. It was that face was throwing off their ability to asynchronously connect. And it really forced me to look at that check engine light and to look inside. And those are some of the most beautiful things that have ever happened to me. The loss of my hair and the loss of my face. Being called Lucifer. Being called a ticket sale fraud. All of these things are defining and making my posture personally stronger and taller. Because the acid of the vitriol, right? We've been through this. But the vitriol of the world, the accusations that come at you, really, they're giving you opportunity to level up. You have that rebuke at your disposal. And how many calories you have is going to determine if that check engine light is like the source of all your pain and evil in the world, or if it's an opportunity to level up. You can really start to look at it that way. They are buying hair here in Belisarius. eat right, James, and heal yourself. Well, what is not healed, JJ? Do you think I'm sick? Is that a curse? See, that sounds like a curse. I don't think JJ meant it that way, but like that feels like a curse. Like, I don't think that not having hair means I'm unhealthy. Maybe you do though. Maybe that's it. Maybe you guys are like, yeah, it's because you're unhealthy. Maybe all these vitriol is invoked by my own intuition because it knows it'll spur a different flower to grow. This is kind of what I mean. We have a little bit of this still in the room where people are like, no, we have to find the answer. There has to be an answer. There has to be an answer. If there's a source of pain in the room, James, it has to be an answer. And I don't know if that's really pain as much as that's just constitution. That you end up building from some of those limitations. Jerry Garcia played guitar with 9 fingers. Imagine how much time he'd lose if people were like, no, you can get a prosthetic finger. You can just regrow that with collagen, dude. You just have a collagen deficiency, right? I mean, which one really is better? Which one? Is getting a facelift better? Seriously, those of you who are saying, oh, you can fix your hair if you just eat right. So a facelift, is that the right idea? Is that really what's supposed to happen? Sea salt. You have to drink sea salt. Okay. Yeah, you're not getting the point. And that's fine. You don't have to, because we're going to reject that or we're going to embrace it. And we get to choose how we do that, right? We get to do that. But we know you're not all that people say willy-nilly. One needs to observe before making judgment. Or they don't. We actually can use these judgments to kind of disperse and vent energy. I think we do that more than we're willing to admit. That when we insist the answer to that is the P1 sensor, that alone is also our trying to dispel the mystery, because we want to level up from how it feels, right? To feel that we've solved that, right? I'm a hair transplant specialist, Aphrodite. Yeah, but you also like made an entire stream where you said that I was insisting that Aphrodite was a hermaphrodite. So it's kind of hard to even trust you on that one, Aphrodite. But I appreciate the thing. If you get a facelift and the rest of your body needs to be lifted too, a forklift works well. There you go. Yeah. It's getting a new clone robotic body. What are vaccines? What are vaccines? But you can grow your immune system if you inject this. You can do that. It's just something to think about. It's not even right or wrong, really. But yeah, it is a distraction because I just like to work. It's just cool just to work. It's hard to work when everyone's like, "Hey, can you stop playing that song? Can we address your hair? Your hair's not the same as mine, and I would like to fix that. Can we fix that? Maybe your pH is wrong, dude. That's probably what it is." Oh, it's great. It's great. Like, okay, we got all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Rub blue sugar, blue agave, or aloe oil on your scalp. Rub and scratch your whole head. Because it's broken? If I do that on my elbows, will I grow hair on my elbows? Serious question. pH balance. Man, we got a lot to talk about pH balance, but we won't do it today. I can only endure so much where people, even though I'm saying that, they're still like, no, dude, you can seriously, you need to get a wig, dude. You need to get a fucking rug. Get a rug, James. Even if it's grown from coral, you need to get a rug. You need to try a sea anemone. Put a sea anemone on your head. Yeah, I can't do No Pants Friday when it's Hair Friday. So, all right, guys, we will see you later. Thanks for the hair advice. I will definitely take that under advisement. And yeah. I started actually reading the comments. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.